Well, hello, beautiful.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
This is tactically dangerous.
Hey everyone, welcome to episode 94 of Formidable Opponents, a show that pits three people who have known each other virtually their entire lives in a series of conversations as we argue what is best in a variety of fun, engaging, and critical pop culture topics we all debate about. I'm Randall, and with me as always, Bob and Joseph, and this week's topic is Best Summer Movie Blockbuster. It's summer, and you know what that means, right? This is the season many casual moviegoers look forward to. The fun, funny, action-packed popcorn flicks. The time right before fall where the critical darlings come out, positioning themselves for the Oscars, or winter where technology and wonderment takes us away from the grit and the explosions. For summer, we crave action, surprises, explosions, horror. We're not talking movies which are emotionally resonant and feature complex, nuanced characters. Don't ruin my good time because you're some genius dying of an incurable illness right after a much too attractive woman has fallen for you. You can always count on summer movies to meet our expectations. They are an escape, not only from the brutal heat outside, but for a couple of hours, we are free of worry and responsibility. Our brains are turned off, and we are happy. This week on Formidable Opponents, we explore the movies that give us this elation, that keep us talking. We're examining why these movies made us fans and how they've made us feel. This week, Formidable Opponents discusses and debates Best Summer Movie Blockbuster. As always, I'm joined by two guys who back in the day tore up many an all-night rave to the Blade soundtrack. Bob and Joseph, how are you guys doing?
Wesley Snipes is a saint.
So is Val Kilmer. What's going on, guys?
Hey, what's up, everybody? What's going on?
What's going on? What's going on? Shark Week. That's what's going on. I'm watching it. Me and the kids are all in on that shit.
And that's a little clue to what we're going to be expanding on later. But how's summer treating you guys so far? We're the last week of July. We got a little
hot. It's hot. I'm trying to enjoy my last 2 weeks off of vacation, and Jesus Christ, it's coming to an end pretty quickly. But it's pretty brutal outside. It's bad. It's hot. Yeah. It's real hot.
We're talking about summer movies, and the hot button topic right now is that Barbie and Oppenheimer were both released this weekend. Did you guys have a chance to watch any of those movies?
Barbie, yeah, I went all out. No, I'm just kidding. I'm planning on going to see Oppenheimer next week. Well, this week coming up, probably like an early morning showing with the rest of the crazy asses that want to watch that kind of movie at 10 o'clock in the morning. So yeah, that's a plan.
Man, dude, I don't even remember the last movie I saw in the theater. I'm kind of just waiting for them to hit the streaming services.
Joseph, come on, man.
I have no intentions of seeing these movies. None of them. I mean, obviously, I'm not gonna watch a Barbie movie. No offense to people that do. It's just not interested. And I know everybody's all losing their shit over Oppenheimer, but it's not a subject that interests me. So
you're not into the atomic bomb and World Wars I and II and all that kind of shit.
I got enough of that in history back in the day. So.
I did. I watched Oppenheimer. No spoilers, by the way.
You did?
I did. It was fantastic. Awesome. And I mean, can you really say no spoilers for a movie about real history that we all know about? I mean, there's a Napoleon movie coming out with Joaquin Phoenix. I think we all know his final defeat was the Battle of Waterloo. So, I mean, you can't really spoil historical movies, but I'm not going to do that. And it's not one of your typical summer movies. It's very dialogue driven. It's about explosions, but there are really no explosions. Well, there's one, right? But it's
that's what I told her.
It's a great movie. It's very well paced. It's 3 hours long, so get ready for some
Jesus Christ.
Some patience, right? And so I went there. I felt like every hour was better than the previous hour. It was very well paced. And it was one of those movies, like I said, no spoilers, but as you watch it, you're like, wow, that person's in this movie, and that person's in this movie, and it's just like a who's who.
Matt Damon?
No, I mean, even deeper than that. The roster goes deep in this movie. So I do recommend it. Oppenheimer was such a great experience, and it's going to win a lot of awards, or at least be nominated. And the lead actor, Cillian Murphy, is that his name?
Yeah, Cillian Murphy.
Yeah, he's
Killian. I think that's how it's pronounced.
Killian or
I think I heard him say. I think I heard it
Fucking Peaky Blinders is awesome.
yes.
So
Killian?
he
Oh,
was
something like
badass
that.
in that.
Yes.
You ever seen Peaky Blinders, Joe? Great show. No.
He's the movie revolves completely. Every reaction is about his emotion and his action, and to do that just so profoundly. I mean, kudos to Christopher Nolan. I won't talk too much else about it because I know it's a recent release, but I recommend it. Check it out. Talking about big blockbuster summer movies, give me your definition of a summer blockbuster. What does it have to have for you to go out there and check it out in the theater?
It's got to be an absolute banger.
And now the weather with Carl. All right.
There's got to be some anticipation and hopefully meeting that expectation and
Sounds like prom night.
I mean, you got to walk out of the theater talking about it. People got to be talking about it for days, and it's got to make money. I mean, obviously, most of these movies that we're going to discuss or talk about have done at least at some, made some money and just, been the talk of the town for a week or a month or whatever.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it's got to be one of the most anticipated movies of the year, of the summer. So when it comes out, it's got to be lines of people going to see it.
You got a lot. I'm sorry to interrupt, Bob.
Go
You got
ahead.
but to like what you said, you got a lot more people available to you, like how Bob mentioned, and like trying to enjoy his summer. You got a lot more people available to go watch a movie, so you really got to have something that's gonna entertain them. Bob, I'm continuing. I apologize for that.
Yeah, you better. No, I don't. Yeah, no, you're all good. I get it, 1,000,000%. It's got to be. Like I said, it's got to be something. Like you said, there's got to be a buzz about it. People have to be talking about it before the movie, after the movie, good or bad. You know what I mean? It's got maybe it's Oscar worthy, maybe it's not. Maybe makes millions of dollars. Maybe it's a huge flop, but it's still got to be talked about. I think these movies, they got to be something different. Usually you see really, really great movie releases like during Christmas time and most of the best ones during the summer, or at least that's the way it used to be. So it's got to be a ton of anticipation.
And I want the plot to be insane and unbelievable. I think with summer movies, I'm okay with watching something that doesn't cause me to think. Like Oppenheimer is, of course, an exception, but I want to go in there. I want explosions.
Did you say Inception?
Exception.
Oh,
And
okay.
I want to make sure I don't
Same
want
director.
movies. I don't want to watch movies like with musical geniuses or people trying to find themselves so they could go to other countries. The only Oscar I want the summer blockbuster movie to win is best sound engineering. Other than that, I want them to just go wild,
So
go
lame.
crazy. And my son
The sound guy won. Yeah.
Deserve it, bro.
and he gets 20 seconds to talk while Matt Damon gets half an hour. Anyway,
It's not even filmed. Doesn't even make it to air.
it's like a commercial after like the who passed away over the past year. It's like, by the way, this guy.
Meanwhile, earlier today, scrolling ticker on the bottom.
Sound guy from Karate Kid wins 1985.
and he's like getting the award like backstage where there's nobody else. It's like
And they take it away after the camera before the camera can pan away.
This was just for the camera. Please give it back to us. It's not. You'll get yours
For
in the
real actors, for the real award winners.
and we're watching some of these previews for these big blockbuster movies. And my son, he wants to watch some of these movies and he's a little too young. And I said, we got to wait a few years. But I remember at my age, and I think you guys could speak to this, I was watching Porky's, Animal House, Trading Places, 48 Hours by the time I was his age. Were you guys watching these summer movies? And were there some things like maybe a horror movie that you were sort of sneaking to watch or saw without permission? Or
Yeah, I mean, I think parents back in the day were a little more lenient. They're like, "You're gonna go to the movies, cool," then we'll pick you up in a few hours. We're gonna go do our own thing. So I think that, obviously a lot has changed nowadays, but I think I remember a lot of times going to the movies and being like, "Yeah, we're gonna go see one movie," and then staying and sneaking into another movie and watching 2 or 3 different movies or bits and pieces of each movie. Like that's just what we did when we were fucking kids.
An R-rated movie with some violence and language wasn't a huge deal to. I still don't think that's a real. Just
Close your eyes. Close your eyes at that part. Close your eyes.
That's right.
So
wait till you have kids and one of them says "fuck" in the middle of class.
it was a lot of fun. A lot of good stuff.
I learned it from watching you.
Guys, as you're growing up, there weren't too many indoor places to hang out with your friends, especially where we grew up, right? You tell us about what being at the movies or being at the movie theater during the summer meant to you.
It was opportunities
I was out there in the sun playing sports, sir. Get a life. Go outside. Live in the valley. Get used to the heat, sir. Okay, go ahead, Joseph.
No, a lot of it too. Also, being able to see and hang out with friends that you didn't see every day. So, and then obviously, it's trying to stay out of trouble. because back then we were crazy.
Yeah, same. I mean, like, I don't remember spending a lot of time at the movie theater during this. I remember going to the movies, but I think we had it to where we were always at somebody else's house, like hanging out, watching TV, playing video games, that kind of thing. We all didn't have cell phones back then, so it's not like we could just like text and send memes and shit all day. You know what I mean? So you had to just hang out. But yeah, we were outside a lot. I know you all probably stayed inside. I was outside shitload. I don't think we had a choice. We're like, go get a basketball, go outside, get the fuck out of here for a while.
I mean, we're aging ourselves here, but I mean, we remember the high
silent
school
films.
No,
We remember silent films.
no. I mean, we remember
a nickel to get in.
I mean, asking a girl to go to the movies, to if we weren't driving, getting dropped off, had the girl getting dropped, like. That was having a movie date,
your parents
enough money to pay for her ticket or whoever's ticket, whatever. Is that still like a fun time nowadays? Like for young high schoolers? Like going to the movie and hanging out a little bit afterwards?
I don't think so. I mean, judging by when I go, you see a lot more older people at the movie theater. I mean, granted, I don't go a lot of Friday and Saturdays, but I don't think that's.
I think a lot of them like stream shit. You know what I mean? They stream it on their phones and they talk to each other on the phone. They don't go out anymore. They just hang out over their phones now.
Remember, before we had gotten, we got the theater that's still there in our home city. The neighboring city had that. What was it? I don't remember. It was a Hollywood one, and I just remember, getting dropped off. And seeing, meeting with groups of friends, we'd all meet together. We'd go watch a movie. There was an arcade attached to it. Hanging out at the arcade afterward. I mean, it's just so much stuff, dude. Like,
simpler times.
Like that was a fun movie night with friends. Like being young. Like like Bob said, simple, entertaining, fun. Like it was
good old days.
Good old days. Yeah.
Guys, we had talked about Barbie and Oppenheimer, and they're making some noise right now in the theater. They've made a lot of money this past weekend, but the summer movie season isn't what it used to be. Will we ever return to those days where it seemed like every week there was huge movies coming out for like 10 straight weeks?
No. We are kind of in the tail end of the pandemic. Of course, while it was going on, the only thing to do was stay at home and stream movies. We're in this, and this is the reason why, like, this whole streaming thing is why we're on this. One of the reasons why the Hollywood's on strike, but no, because I think we kind of got used to it. Like, I know I did. Like, I'm just kind of waiting until I can. Amazon Prime calls it movies at home and in theater, and like I may have to wait like three weeks, maybe 4 weeks, or a month after an initial release in the theater, but I can pay the same amount and watch it at home like a month later. So
I think you're wrong on that. I think you pay way fucking less, Joseph. I think you pay way less at home. You have a great point. Nobody wants to. I mean, like certain movies, maybe like Oppenheimer, but like rarely these days. I think we did get so used to watching movies and streaming movies at home because of COVID that we kind of got comfortable with it. Like me myself during COVID, I bought a projector. You can see them behind me, and I've got a projector screen. I have a little movie room even outside of my patio. Bought another cheap projector and got a screen so I could watch movies out there if I want. So why would I want to go to the movies and spend $60 on popcorn and a ticket and a fucking drink?
Yeah, exactly. That's why we're not going to have
refills when I could buy a 6-pack of beer and rent a movie for $19 here and have everybody, whoever the fuck wants to come see it, come watch it. It's more comfortable that way.
I don't think we've regained our footing since COVID. I think there's a lot of residue, not necessarily because of the actual COVID, but we've been comfortable watching movies from home. It's cheaper. You could make your own snacks. You could have your own food. When you go to the Alamo
you
Draft
can do
House,
things at home that you're not supposed to do in the theater.
Like sit in your underwear. Is that what you're saying, Joseph?
Yes, exactly. Of course.
Like Al Bundy.
Like I'm in the wrong because I wanted to get comfortable.
It's frowned upon. It's not illegal. It's frowned upon.
I mean, it's true. I think the whole new way and we talked about the way we listen to music last week, the way we watch movies is completely different now. And I don't think theaters will ever rebound completely. And you see a lot of like these big theater chains, putting money and making these theaters bigger and better and better sound and IMAX and all these other things that are going on. I don't think we'll ever get to that point where it's like, okay, it's completely sold out for weeks at a time. We got to wait. And it's just different now. And
Sorry, go continue. No,
go ahead.
Like, okay, it's like, so yes, these two movies are in the theater right now, Barbie and Oppenheimer. There's a lot of buzz around them. There's a lot of anticipation around them both. So yes, there is always going to be that market that's like, I got to go see it right away. I need to go see this right now. There's always going to be that. And that's cool. I think that they just need, I don't know why, like, because kind of what you said right now, Randy, about theater. Tell me why. I don't know about these theaters, like that. I don't think theaters need to go to all out on just give me a comfortable chair, give me some decently priced popcorn, and I'm fine. Like, because it goes back to this whole market thing. Like, it's different now. You're not going to make as much as much money on these movies in theaters for as long as they used to. So you got to compensate with that. Stop going all out with the theaters and just enjoy the initial week and a half rush, that because that's really this is going to be in 2 weeks. Oppenheimer and Barbie are probably going to drop, and it's not a knock on the movies. It's just people are going to wait. Like if I wanted to watch Oppenheimer, I would wait until I can just stream it.
No, the nostalgia factor is really there. Going to the theater with getting a box of popcorn and enjoying that experience. It's sad how, just not sad, but just times have changed, and it's people just got more comfortable watching movies at home. It's just things changed. Hopefully, I would love for it to go back, but I don't know if it ever will.
I'm more into the old school. Like I want to see I want to see a new drive-in theater. I that's a great experience. I think people should still have that once in a while. And I'm all up for special screenings, like when we went to go, like just something like fucking E.T. is going to be back in theaters for
Eddie Torres
for a month. Like that would be something cool. That's something to go like reminisce and have a good time. Maybe take your kids who have never heard of that movie and hopefully have them enjoy. That's more the theater experience that I'm looking for, other than something new. You know what I mean?
I think the danger to this is because we're always going to go and watch movies in the theater. We might go and watch something at the Alamo Drafthouse when they're showing a Pulp Fiction, or when they're showing a Goonies, or even when they're showing a new release. But I think the danger of that is, how often do you take your children to go watch movies in the theater? I mean, maybe not as often, because it gets really expensive. I mean, snacks and tickets for, 4 or 5 people, it adds up. When you're at home, you could say, hey, we could watch this, Disney film. But I think for us, we're always going to say, I have a Friday afternoon off. Maybe I'm going to go watch a movie by myself. But I think with children, they're going to grow up thinking, well, movies in the theater weren't such a big thing. They were a once in a while thing. And with us, we were going every week or every other week growing up, because that was the thing to do, was just go catch the latest Blockbuster, or just to get out of the house and hang out with your friends. That's
true.
My 2
very,
cents.
very, very true.
Let's go on to our honorable mentions. What are some of your honorable mentions for best summer movie blockbuster, Joseph?
Let me run through this real quick. I got Jurassic Park, obviously. Randy, I wrote, I have your selection, but I'm not going to talk about it. So your selection is on my honorable mentions. Usually. I got E.T., Forrest Gump, Ghostbusters, The Sixth Sense, Back to the Future, Avengers, Independence Day, and just to round it out, I did think the first Spider-Man, when we got the Spider-Man movie with Tobey Maguire, I thought
Tobey with an eye.
I thought it was a good was it the first Spider-Man movie?
Yeah.
One of the first Spider-Man
it
movies.
was the first one.
Yeah,
and it was good. So that's my list. A lot of old movies. Kind of tells you something.
What about you, Bob?
Definitely Forrest Gump. This is almost my pick. I know I mentioned that to you earlier, Randy, but I remembered how much of an asshole Jenny was, so I was like, no, fuck that. Back to the Future came out in July '85. Jurassic Park, of course. I saw that in the movie theater. Great movie. Pirates of the Caribbean, The Curse of the Black Pearl came out in the summer of 2003. Joseph, we just graduated. Independence Day, of course, greatest movie speech of all fucking time. Yes, at least one of them. Great speech. We're gonna live on. Star Wars: A New Hope actually came out in '77 during the summer, which is pretty cool. And then of course I had E.T. Eddie Torres.
All right, guys. So I had There's Something About Mary, July 1998. I'm sorry. So for this movie, quick funny story. I was sitting next to somebody. It was a packed theater, and the guy happened to have the same crutches that Tucker had. You remember Tucker, the guy?
My name's Norm.
So that scene where Mary threw him the keys and he had to try to pick him up, I was like stifling my laughter because the guy was right next to me, but he was busting out laughing. And I was like, okay, I don't feel so bad. I'm going to start laughing. So very awkward.
Did he fucking swing it at you after you, as soon as you burst out? He was like, you can't laugh. Oh, I can laugh, motherfucker.
Guardians of the Galaxy, August 2014. Last movie my wife and I saw before we had kids. Spider-Man, first movie I watched alone, but loved it. It was a great experience. Saving Private Ryan, I openly wept. Gladiator, my car broke down, but the movie was so good that I didn't care. I was like, I'm gonna leave my car there overnight. We'll get it up. We'll pick it up tomorrow because Gladiator was a fun movie. Independence Day I had as well. The Avengers, Back to the Future. July 1985. We're probably going to do a Back to the Future episode sometime in the future. So I'll hold the Michael J. Fox conversation, but I just saw his documentary still, and it's incredible. I would recommend anybody check it out. Speed, June 1994. Ghostbusters as well, June 1984.
What was the line? He said, "Quiz hot shot," or what was it?
Pop quiz hot shot.
Pop quiz hot shot. Yeah, there we go. Great line.
Great movie. Forrest Gump. Jenny was a beautiful blonde that played guitar. What could go wrong? Okay, so The Karate Kid, 1984 in June. The Goonies, June 1985. Now, I have an asterisk by Karate Kid and The Goonies because we didn't have a lot of money. So we saw this in the Dollar Theater. So we saw it like in October in the Dollar Theater.
Now we can go. You want a candies or no? You want a candy? We gotta go in October.
Like the popcorn had like the oven pop, and they didn't even have like Nestle's or Butterfinger. They had like Tootsie Rolls and lollipops for the
Mr. Good Bars, or what was the fucking ones that are just caramel chew? What the fuck it was called?
The big hunks. Yeah, they had shitty candy, but a great movie, by the way. Jurassic Park, June 1993, and of course the original Batman, 1991. Great films that we all picked. Fun times.
Let me ask you quick. I know Ghostbusters came out Ghostbusters. I'm surprised that it came out during the summer, considering what it was, the subject matter, all that stuff. If they released that closer to Halloween, I think they would have cashed in. Not that they didn't cash in because Ghostbusters is such a great movie, but
yeah,
I guess it was going to be the big summer blockbuster for that summer.
I think so. And I think there's a movie that we're going to talk about later that set the trend for Blockbuster. So I think everybody was saying, okay, you know what? Kids are out of school. Let's make movies that adults will take their kids to, but they're also going to be enjoy. I thought that was a good strategy in a lot of the movies we witnessed and a lot of movies we mentioned on our honorable mentions. But Joseph, we're going to go with you. What is your pick?
All right, guys, I chose The Dark Knight, released in July 18th of 2008. Actually, 15 years ago, this past Tuesday. It's really crazy. I reported $185 million budget with a box office of over $1 billion. I'm not trying to use these numbers to justify the selection because as impressive as they are, I know that your two selections were released in different times, whole different economy, different decades now. A lot of people didn't have access to the movies back then, like we did in 2008. It was a lot
cheaper too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
To go to the fucking movies, so they didn't make as much money.
So yeah, I understand that, and I'm not. It's not any kind of justification for my selection to say it's the best. But they're that good, so you can't not mention them. Honestly, this is still one of the best movies I've ever seen. Best comic book films I've ever seen. It's incredibly cast. Christian Bale, Michael Caine, Gary Oldman, Aaron Eckhart, Morgan Freeman, Maggie Gyllenhaal, and of course the late great Heath Ledger. I'm gonna quickly just go back to Batman Begins, another entry into Batman film franchises. The first in a new trilogy after the debacle that was Joel Schumacher. Pretty good film. It was. I won't say it was bad. I'll say it was a nice new idea for Batman. I'll be honest. Like Batman Begins, it was good, but it didn't really. I was like, okay, cool. They're gonna make another one.
I agree with you. I wasn't really big on it.
Yeah. I mean, let's be honest. Ra's al Ghul and Scarecrow, maybe not, must see Batman villains. And that's nothing against the performances of Liam Neeson and Cillian Murphy, who played the Scarecrow. I didn't talk shit about him, Danielle. I just said it was, not the best choice. So don't get mad at me.
What was he not the best choice of the Scarecrow?
Yeah, no, like best choice for a villain in a Batman movie. Like, who cares to see the Scarecrow? Like, who cares to see Ra's al Ghul?
I think you know what? He was better than hello.
Yes.
Fucking,
yeah, no doubt. Yeah, no doubt.
And I think it is Cillian Murphy.
I think he's like Cillian.
I don't know. Anyway, go ahead.
Cillian's is a great red ale, Irish red ale.
Anyway, it was successful enough to warrant another entry into this new trilogy, and we got that tease at the end that set up the Joker. So we're like, okay, if they're gonna do this, and hopefully, it's the Joker now. So finally, okay, we're gonna get excited about it. I remember the build up to this film. The announcement of Ledger as the Joker. I'm not gonna go like into the behind the scenes of the process. I heard a lot of people weren't too happy about it. He seemed like a good character actor, and I was on board with it. Little by little, we got closer to the release, and I remember that first image of Joker, like this. It was an all black image, pale white face, red lips, real big close up. I remember when they released that, and I was so game. I was so excited. I was so ready for this. It looked fucking insane. It really did. And I think everybody at that point too started to buy into it. And the anticipation only got bigger, with the release of the first trailer. Oh man, I remember seeing this first trailer for the first time. I was so pumped after this, so ready for this movie. And that's because I didn't even see the trailer, like a real version of the trailer. It was released in, before films that I had no intentions of seeing. So I had to see the trailer because somebody, people were filming it with their phones and putting it on YouTube. So you were seeing some grainy ass videos of this first trailer, but I was still so excited. I mean, like I said, it only made the interest 10 times higher. There was so much buzz about this movie, and I'll admit, during the buildup, sadly, Ledger had passed away just about 6 months before this release. So I know there's that. I understand that factor. I do. It doesn't take anything away from the success. Anybody that I talked to that had seen this movie before me said, you have to see it. You have to see it. Aside from Ledger, better performances from Christian Bale. I think they played off each other so well. There was a great dynamic between them. Also more screen time for Lucius Fox or Morgan Freeman. The appearance of Two-Face as the Joker, just so freaking awesome. A great, great film, like I said, with so much riding on it and so much anticipation. It delivered. An Oscar-winning performance, and a 10 out of 10 all the way in my books. I mean, this movie was so insane. Like I said, so well done, so great. And it's just one of my favorites. Randy, if you tell me that this movie is not as good as I said it is, I swear I'm not doing an episode for 2 or 3 weeks, bro. Go.
Horrible movie. No, it's a fantastic movie. I've been in on Christopher Nolan since Memento, and just having seen Oppenheimer.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I didn't even mention it was Christopher Nolan.
Yeah, Christopher Nolan.
It's a whole, connection with everything going on right now. Circle.
The thing is, Joseph, is that he's been putting out great movies for a long time now. He's been doing some incredible work since 2000. He's been putting out some great movies, and I think this is the movie that really made the world aware of he was going to become one of our most important directors of our lifetime. I think if you look at all the great directors now, I was looking up, okay, who are the best directors working right now? And the roster goes deep. It goes 25, 30 directors. But I would honestly think Christopher Nolan is top 4 or 5 at this point. I was watching a Matt Damon interview, and he was saying he was going to take some time off.
Get it? You like him?
He was saying he was going to take some time off doing movies, and he had told his wife, he said, I'm making one exception. If Christopher Nolan calls me, I'm making the movie. I don't care what part he offers me. Sure enough, he calls him for Oppenheimer for this supporting role, and he takes it. And I think that's how important Christopher Nolan has become in our current zeitgeist and our current pop culture lore, because he's just making hit after hit. They reimagined the popular Batman franchise and turned it into a gritty crime noir saga, and I loved it because I wasn't really big on Batman Begins. I thought it was a little too dark and a little too distant for me, but this completely changed it. And I think, Joseph, I will give this movie credit. It could have gone sideways because Christopher Nolan was undertaking a famous superhero franchise and creating something totally different with it. This could have been a movie about a depressed billionaire who dresses up and fights crime, just like some of the other Batman movies. But the Batman franchise was suffering. The second Michael Keaton Batman movie wasn't so great. I love Val Kilmer as Batman, but that movie didn't support his skill. I think he would have rocked this role as well as Christian Bale. George Clooney, he had nipples. Enough said about that. I think this was I think this was an attempt to dust off a fractured franchise, and a lot of people were cynical. By this next go around, what's the difference? It's not our friend Michael Caine as Alfred. It was the Heath Ledger show. When he was on screen, and I think both of you will attest to this, and Bob, I know you're going to talk about this too, he captivated us. When he wasn't on screen, you were waiting for him to come back. So this was a 2 hour and 32-minute film. He's only on screen for 33 minutes. He's only in a fifth of the movie. But we remember Heath Ledger as this incredible, Oscar-winning work that he completed as the Joker. he physically and psychologically embodied and became this character. I mean, what were both of your thoughts when you heard, and we'll break here. I have more thoughts, but I want to break and ask you guys a question. What were both of your thoughts when you heard Heath Ledger was cast as the Joker? Be honest.
I love 10 Things I Hate About You.
But
No,
did you see?
I'm just kidding. I'm just fucking around. No, but you know what? Obviously, he's a very good actor. He was in a lot of different movies, playing different roles. I've never been one to be like, oh, they got that guy to do this. He's gonna suck. I've never been that, because usually the most obscure picks usually end up working out extremely well, at least in my opinion, when it comes to, especially when it comes to Batman movies or these comic book movies. So I was like, oh, cool. I want to see what he'll do with that. I was just excited that they were having the Joker.
That too. I was excited they were having the Joker, but I had no issues. Like I said, I think he was a great character actor. I know everybody loves to, and hey, 10 Things I Hate About You is probably what put him on the map. But he was in The Patriot. He was great in that. He was in A Knight's Tale. He was great in that too. A little bit, it was a little bit of a comedic,
Knight's Tale
dramatic role, but he was good. Not that big of a role in Monsters Ball, but the order was good. As acclaimed as Brokeback Mountain was, I didn't see the movie. I was totally on board with it. Let me just say this. I was fine with it. He had a great list of, he played a great list of characters. He had some great roles, some great buzzworthy talked about roles. Did they win him like massive awards? No, but they were well received roles and films that he did prior to The Dark Knight. So I had no beef with this whatsoever. I thought I was on board for it 100%.
There were some actors that were considered at the time. I'll run some names by you guys that were more polished in terms of the drama. But Heath Ledger, by the way, Monsters Ball, he was fantastic in that movie. So if you haven't caught that one, but Paul Bettany was considered. Also Willem Dafoe, Adrian Brody, Sam Rockwell, who I think would have been a great Joker. You listen to some of these, and I think they were really making a push for Adrian Brody, who had just done The Pianist, and I think he had won an Oscar for it.
That was a great movie. That was a great movie too. It was. He had a great performance.
Yeah, he was amazing. He probably would have been a better Scarecrow than he would have been as a Joker.
But for any of us to sit here and say we all thought, well, Heath Ledger, I don't know. I mean, because I remember at the time people were saying the guy that did the teen movie, and
I didn't go into it expecting him to just kill it, but I was on board with it. But he did kill it.
They're saying the same thing about the Twilight guy that just became the new Batman, and he did a great fucking job in that movie.
Fair points. And I mean, we all love Heath Ledger. We all think he just hit it out of the park. But go ahead, Joseph.
The only name to that, just before you continue, is William Dafoe, who at the time
might have been a little too old.
But now it's like, okay, now if somebody does an old Batman movie, like there's the Frank Miller, is it the Frank Miller series, The Dark Knight Returns? He did a two-part comic books. They did two animated films of this. If they were to do those in a live action movie, William Dafoe is your man to play old Joker. He is. He really is.
He looks crazy just in normal every day.
Yeah, I think so. You just have to put lipstick on him. He's the fucking Joker.
He's probably already wearing it anyway.
Because if you don't know anything about those graphic novels, it's older Batman, it's older Joker. So yeah, William Dafoe now, I'd be totally on board with that.
Let me throw a name out to you who was big at the time. What about Mark Wahlberg as a Joker?
Oh my God, no.
Hey, Bat, what you doing?
Hey, man.
That ain't better for me. What you did?
Just want to talk to you, Batman. Come on. Forget it. We're not doing this again. You got wings, but you don't really fly. I can't
really
do it.
Bad.
That sounded like Paul McCartney for some reason.
Forget it. No, Mark Wahlberg. No, we're not going to do this again. Anyway, so Heath Ledger, what he does is he turns Batman into the villain for a scene or two, especially that interrogation scene. He makes Batman choose between Harvey Dent and, of course, his love interest. He messes with his mind. The thing about this movie, anybody who's played Batman, Keaton, Kilmer, Affleck, Pattinson, anybody but Clooney, hell, even Adam West could have shined in this film, because you were essentially supporting this ingenious performance of this Promethean Heath Ledger. And it's the role that, made him an icon, but also damaged his life. So, I mean, you get immersed in this world, and it exceeded expectations. I saw this with Oppenheimer. Nolan just takes events and he just creates these worlds and narratives around somebody. And he's so brilliant at doing that. And it's really more of a crime drama than a comic book movie. It looks more like Heat than it does Spider-Man. And I mean, great selection. I mean, 530 million plus in earnings. but I keep going back to Heath Ledger and what if he's not in this movie? Would it have been as great? Bob, what are your thoughts?
Well, if my aunt had nuts, she'd be my uncle. You can't deal with what if, sir. It just doesn't work that way. Yeah, I agree 1,000,000% on that. That opening scene was like the opening scene to a crime movie, to Heat. Like you said,
So
that
good.
opening scene stole me. This wasn't a comic book movie. When I saw the movie, when I see the movie, it doesn't remind me of like the fucking Avengers or Spider-Man even. This reminds me of a crime movie. It reminds me of a great movie. It takes the whole comic book aspect completely out of it, at least in my mind. It is a great movie, probably one of the, if not the best sequel to a movie. Of all time. The the Batman Begins was it was okay. The third one, it completely sucked. I wasn't a big fan of that one at all.
Yeah, I didn't like it.
But The
either.
Dark Knight, this one really stands out as one of the best comic book movies of all time. But again, it didn't remind me, it didn't give off that vibe, that comic book vibe to me. Now, the only thing I would say would hold it back from being a summer blockbuster is that stupid, what the fuck was Kristen Bale doing with her voice? What the fuck was he doing? Why did he change his voice like that? He didn't do that in the first one, and the second one, why are you trying to kill me? That kind of bullshit. I don't know. I don't get that. I don't know why he tried to change his voice. That really bothered me. The movie doesn't remind me of a summer blockbuster, like something you'd see in the summer. Granted, it had a bunch of action and it was amazing and everything. It just doesn't seem like a summer movie to me. But there's nothing else negative I could say about it. It's one of my favorite movies. I remember watching it in the theater, buying it on Blu-ray when it first came out, and watching it. I've watched it more than a few times, dude. It's that opening scene. I think that opening scene still gets me, and it's such a tragedy that Heath Ledger passed away, because I know they kept the Joker alive. Like, he didn't really die off, and they're going to use him in the next movie too. So, what might have been, right?
Maybe that's what killed the third one. I mean, worst portrayal of a character. Tom Hardy as Bane. It's like,
terrible.
oh my god, it was.
I didn't think it was that bad, but I do agree with the voice. I mean, didn't we learn from Little Nicky, when you change your voice up? I mean, it's not going to be very pleasant. So he did it. I mean, maybe make it a little deeper. Don't make it all like, it was just.
But it's the we're talking about Tom Hardy here at Bane, right? We're talking about, that's what we're talking about.
I was talking about.
We're talking about Christian Bale.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm sorry. I thought we were going into Bane. But that's a whole other story.
The Bane voice was terrible. Yeah.
But we're talking about Kristen Bale changing his voice in the second one. Like, I don't like that.
Yeah, I was just trying to match up. So we'll go to my pick, Terminator 2. I picked for best summer blockbuster.
There you go, Joseph. Attaboy, Joseph.
So for a bit of history, I have to go back to the spring of 1985. I was 8 years old, and I had the most
fuck.
I had the most impressive VHS rental haul I've ever had. Check this out. I had Revenge of the Nerds, which came out the summer before. I rented also, along with that, A Nightmare on Elm Street, which came out the fall before, and the original Terminator. I always remember that was my most impressive VHS rental haul, and it's just seared.
Your parents let you watch Revenge of the Nerds at 8 years old?
They did. So a weekend with Arnold, Freddy, and Ogre. Who can top that, right? Okay, so I launched with this because I told you about my 8-year-old son is currently asking to watch some movies that he may be a little too young and they're too mature for him. So I was this exact age watching, murders, monsters, and naked people. So the 80s, what a time to be alive. Anyway, there's this meme where it's like me watching Terminator alone, and it's an action scene, and my parents walking in while I'm watching Terminator, and it's Linda Hamilton writing Michael Bain, like the existence of humankind depends on it. I don't know if you've seen that meme. It's just funny. So I love how Sarah Connor and Kyle Reese just stop and decide to have insane 80s big-haired sex while they're being hunted by a cyborg. Like, where did they find the time for that? Anyway, but if it wasn't for that,
you might as well, man. You don't know if you're gonna make it,
bro. It's the end of the world.
But if it wasn't for that, hey, there would be no John Connor and there'd be no T2. My pick. So T2 is the biggest and best sequel. I would argue that. There weren't too many people who thought the first Terminator would be a hit. Remember, there was a rumor that was going around that they were going to cast, they're never going to catch him, but they were going to cast O.J. Simpson, but he didn't look menacing enough to play a cold-blooded killer. There would probably be no sequel if O.J. was cast. He'd kill Sarah Connor and Kyle Reese, or the sequel would be a courtroom drama. I don't know. Anyway, T2 had the benefit of several things. It had James Cameron's vision. It had Arnold in the middle of an incredible 10-year run as one of the biggest action heroes on film from 1984 to 1994. I'm not counting Junior. Linda Hamilton, who was, who helped shape the modern badass female prototype. She was absolutely ripped. She was a more well-rounded character, compelling character. Joseph, your PG-13 thoughts, and Bob, your NC-17 thoughts on Linda Hamilton in this movie, real quick.
She was a total badass. This was, this is, I think I mentioned it to my wife earlier, that Linda Hamilton, this is the first time I saw like a woman who was a fucking badass in the movie. And she is such a killer and amazing. Like, she does a great fucking job in this to play like such a badass dude. So I think she really, really stole the show as well. Arnold doesn't speak a lot, thank God, but Linda Hamilton really did an amazing job. She steals it for me. She's a badass.
100% better portrayal of her character from the first one. In the first one, it was it doesn't seem like, okay, she's just the victim. She's running all the time. She's always scared. Kyle Reese is always like, I got this. Just run. Terminator 2, whole different story. I mean, she's front and center.
Biceps.
Kicking ass. Yeah. Yes, all that stuff. Escaping from jail cells and whacking security guards with a freaking knights. I mean, just 10 times better. I am so happy that they gave her more, let her kick some ass, and let her like not be the victim this time. Like, she's like, fuck this, like, I'm fighting for my life. It's just great fucking performance.
Complete empowerment, and I loved it. Edward Furlong, this was his first movie, and he looks like he was about to become the new It actor.
He did The Crow. That was fucking terrible. One of the worst movies of all time.
Made some bad decisions. The only thing I would have done is I would have replaced Furlong with a young Leo, who was around 16 at the time. He was doing TV at the time. Leonardo DiCaprio was. Growing Pains. He was on Critters 3. A young Leo would have made this movie a lot better. And of course, Robert Patrick as the T-1000. Robert Patrick, who's the brother of Filter, the lead singer for Filter. They happen to be, they're brothers. Yes. So I wouldn't have recast this role. If I would recast this role, I would say I would have had Steven Seagal as the T-1000. Could you imagine Steven Seagal running?
He's got the worst action run. I think we've mentioned this before. I've mentioned it. He's got the worst run of any action hero in the history of action heroes.
Arnold would have beat his ass on the set. I don't think there's any doubt about that. Arnold would have not put up with the shit. It benefited.
Exactly. I was literally just about to say that. Arnold's not going to put up with this motherfucker acting like a diva.
Get him the hell out of here.
He's from Austria. Now he's not German. Jesus Christ.
No. Okay, so it benefited because it attached itself to MTV, which was a very smart move. Guns N' Roses, the biggest band on the planet at the time, played the main song on the soundtrack, and this was right before grunge era took over. So this was the last gritty hard rock connection to the late 80s, early 90s era. My experience with this movie, I was 13 years old, and my brother and his friends were going to watch it, and they didn't want to take me. I begged. I pleaded to tag along because I wanted to watch this movie. Finally, they capitulated. They let me go, and it was an experience. At the time, it was the most expensive film ever made. And guys, this film is 32 years old, and the special effects and action sequences, they still hold up. The computer-generated imagery, 30 plus years, and this masterpiece has not been dethroned. This movie is not only an action movie, it's a think piece. Our expectations of what we know about these characters, and you guys just said it about Linda Hamilton's character, are completely subverted. James Cameron had a bigger budget, and he wanted a lot of these elements in the first movie. He wanted to challenge our beliefs in these characters. And not only was was the action better, the look was sleeker, but now we had well-rounded characters. It's not Arnold in all his previous movies screaming, he's going for it. It's thematic. It's edgy. It's edge of your. That sounds like Chewbacca. It's the edge of your seat thrill ride that keeps you thinking. The first one was like kind of like Michael Myers in Halloween, but this movie, showed heart. It had family, even had science fiction. It doesn't beat you over the head with it because it's so focused on the themes. The violence and the storyline is also a great focus. Brilliant film that earned up $520 million. This is why they let Cameron do Titanic. We went from this to Barbie. What happened? Anyway, guys, your thoughts on T2?
Thank God for the kid from Salute Your Shorts for lying to that cop. He single-handedly saved humanity.
And he
fucking
cooks it,
shit,
yes.
boy. Oh, I forgot what his name was when in Salute Your Shorts.
Budnick.
Shit. Oh, Budnick. Yeah, that was funny. With Zeke the Plumber, great episode. Anyways, getting back to it, this was a big summer movie. Again, another great sequel, one of the best sequels of all time. I actually saw this at the movie theater with my Uncle George and my dad. Great scenes. Again, the CGI, I mean, I've seen CGI these days in some movies. It's fucking complete shit. It's complete crap. And the way Cameron did it for this movie was just amazing. The effects, the sounds, the battles. Again, Sarah Connor, amazing characters. The plot hole kind of fucks with me a little bit in this one, just a tad. If the T-1000 comes back in part 2 to kill James Connor, why didn't they send him back in part 1? Fuck, he was obviously the more elite soldier, the T-1000. Why the fuck they send old ass Arnold walking out?
He's reprogrammed.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that if they had sent the T-1000 in the first episode, it was over. Humanity was done. But I do like that they brought him in. He was a completely different character from Arnold's character. You know, he was a skinny little dude and, you know, ran with these swords in his hands. I thought he was pretty fucking fast for a robot, I gotta say. It's funny how Arnold needs to jump on a Harley to move fast, and this fucking guy was just catching cars like, you know, he was on the sprint team for the USA. But yeah, it's a great movie. The ending, Joshua, with the thumb up, you know what I mean? You have to kill one last computer in mind. He points to his head. Goes in do like lava pits just happen to be around every major, you know, industrial city, or what the fuck? What does he go into? I don't know. I just know it was sad. And the kid, that Edward Furlong, that high pitched squeal that he did a lot, I didn't like that, or his hair. So there's a couple of, you know, demerits that you get for this movie. It really is a great movie, great action movie. I know a lot of people like that action for a summer movie. You know what I mean? They want a lot of substance. I mean, they want a lot of like bangs and explosions and chase scenes and shit like that, because they want to be entertained. So I think this is a very entertaining movie, very entertaining. It's a good pick, Ren.
The sequel ended up being 10 times better than the original, and that's not a knock on the first one. It's just it's kind of like what you said. T2 was more polished, more slick, more, you know, obviously, because we were 6 years later, we had advancements in picture. Like you mentioned about the MTV generation, we were just coming into this great new music in the late 80s, early 90s. So they took advantage of that. And of course, the performances by Arnold Schwarzenegger, Linda Hamilton, and Robert Patrick. For Robert Patrick not saying much, dude was scary. Dude was insane. The fucker was running at you. Like, I mean, he was so intense. Robert Patrick is I think this dude's highly underrated actor, but I think he gets his as the kids say, flowers. But they do. But I don't know what they want to do with the franchise, but I would love to see him come back in some way, some form, something, you know, something. It would just be great. These three together, because it was a great sequel. I think the action was fast paced. It was great. The story moved along nicely. I don't think the film itself ever dragged out for it being, how long was it? 2 hours? Was it a 2 hour? I think it was a 2 hour movie. Yeah. For a 2 hour and some movie, I wasn't like, you know, like, hurry up and get to the fucking, I wasn't like saying it, like trying to get through it. I was entertained throughout the whole thing. I agree with you as far as, you know, the graphics and whatnot available to them. I remember one of the things I saw was when they were filming that scene where the what do they call him? The T-1000
liquid metal.
The whole liquid metal scene, when he melts, like it was just mercury on a table that they shot, like, you know, moving. They would tilt the table so that the mercury would move one way, and then they tilt it the other way. So
I love when they did it in Hot Shots Part 2.
That's fucking funny too. I love it. Yeah, I love all the selections that we made. A lot of the honorable mentions and whatnot. This is really up there too. This is a big one, big response, a big sequel, and great performances. Even the kid. I got nothing against Furlong when he was a kid. You know, I know his sadly not career choices, but just personal choices in life deterred him. Like you said, Randy, maybe he could have been more. Wow. And it's James Cameron. I mean, come on. He doesn't put out a lot of stinkers. I mean, so you got that going for him too.
Have you seen Avatar 2?
You know, so it's a great selection, man. Really great pick.
By the way, Rand, I think your date got it wrong. You don't look like Ralph Fiennes. You look like Edward Furlong when you were in high school. The same fucking hairdo. That's why he chose this. He really wanted to be Edward Furlong in T2.
I did sadly look a little like Edward Furlong.
Better selection than your original choice, by the way.
I will say this, and, you know, I'm surprised either of you didn't come in with this, but we're talking about, Robert Patrick. And the only thing I know I see in his filmography of note, I remember him from The Sopranos. He had a 3-episode guest starring role in The Sopranos, and he has over 170 films. And I didn't watch these. A lot of these are straight to DVD. A lot of these didn't make it to the theater. So when you consider Robert Patrick, Edward Furlong, and even Linda Hamilton, who didn't really do anything of note she had a very successful 80s. I remember she was on the Beauty and the Beast TV series. She was married to James Cameron. But other than Arnold, nobody else really went on to do anything spectacular. And I think that's the one hindrance of this movie. Arnold and James Cameron, they're the only two that really propelled after this film. So that's kind of a footnote that is a little sour when it comes to T2. But anyway, moving on. Bob, what do you got for us?
I think I got the one, man. I think I got the one. When I think about when I hear the word summer, I think about vacation. I think about the beach. I think about the sand, the waves, pina coladas. Fuck you all, are delicious. I don't give a shit what you say. I
love them.
I think about just vacation at an island, listening to the waves, man. And I can't think of a better summer blockbuster movie than Jaws. June 20th, 1975, the biggest summer movie, and I think of all time was Jaws, the original. Not only does it remind me of summer, it's a horror movie, which if you've been paying attention to this pod, that's my go-to, especially during October, especially, as a matter of fact, throughout the damn year. Old school horror movies, that's my go-to. So I remember seeing it for the first time as a kid and being just scared shitless of the ocean right afterwards. I know I'm probably not the only one that feels this way. Swimming pools were cool, but once you got to the ocean, I was like, yeah, fuck that. Funny story, I think our freshman year in college, Joseph, we went to the island, me, you, and a buddy, Edric. We swam out like we did, about chest high. We're hanging out about chest high into the ocean and floating around. And then there's like schools of fish like swimming around us. Like, oh, fuck, there's schools of fish. And like we're laughing and talking. And then all of a sudden it's that Jaws sound. I start hearing that shit in my head. Like schools of fish. There's schools of fish. That means there's bigger fish. There's probably sharks here about to eat them. I ain't getting fucking bit up. Fuck this. So I booked it down back to the beachside to sit by the truck and smoke a cigarette while these guys are there floating around in the ocean like crazy people, dude. I don't know. I've seen Shark Week, like I mentioned. It scarred me for life, and this movie didn't do anything to help the situation. So, needless to say, Jaws has scarred me for life. It bothers the shit out of me, or at least it bothered the shit out of me then. I still think about it now every time I go to the beach, but it's one of those movies that just sticks with you. And but it really is the perfect summer blockbuster movie. It starts off, when you talk about summer movies and directors, I know we just mentioned James Cameron, but Steven fucking Spielberg was the director of this horror movie, and it takes place on a beach on July 4th weekend, and it gives you that kind of Alfred Hitchcock level of vibe with suspense and tension, anticipation, of this shark terrorizing beachgoers in this small beach town, which is kind of crazy because we hadn't really seen anything like that up until this point. So the writing on this movie is spectacular. I know, Rand, you said a lot of people don't want to go and pay attention, but the writing and the acting and the dialogue was phenomenal in this movie. The characters, that Chief Brody's character, I really do I think that he played this iconic role in this movie as the Chief of Police, Roy Schneider. I think he did just an amazing job playing that, like, he's just out of his element, doesn't know what the fuck to do, and has to man up because he has to save the small town after everything that's going on. I think he does a great job. The Captain Quint character, fucking awesome. He plays like such the perfect crazy asshole that you would need to go and capture a 20-foot great white shark. So his little haunting story where he talks about the USS Indianapolis, which is a true story, where their ship got shot down by Japanese missiles, and they had to kind of float around in the ocean for 4 days before they got rescued. And as they were floating around, sharks were picking them off one by one. I think like 1,000 men went in the ocean, and only like 360 came out of it, were saved at the end because they were getting picked off. It's kind of a fucked up story, and the way he says it in that scene in the boat at night, it's just very like haunting and creepy and crazy. And I think they did a great job bringing that up in this movie just to add a little more substance to it. So the entire movie as well, I guess it's filled with with tension and suspense, and like the opening death scene just really fucks with you. That tugging on the girl, you know what I mean? It seems like it's going to be like a lover's lane type of thing, jumping in the water and having a little fun, and then she goes down and you don't see anything, but you just see the tug and her like fighting to stay above water. Just crazy, crazy, crazy. The shark attacks throughout the movie and the panic of the people, the beachgoers trying to scramble and get out of the water. Crazy, crazy shit. Their screams, their frantic cries, you know, losing the little kid who gets killed, the blood that they put in the water. Just crazy shit, dude. It really had like everybody panicking, and I think you have that. You kind of sticks with you, I guess. Like I said, it scars you for life. The epic ending, man. The epic ending of the Captain Quint getting eaten by the shark as the ship's going down, and Roy Scheider's, you know, Chief Brody's character climbing up to the top of the mast and smile, you son of a bitch, and shooting him in the mouth and exploding the shark. Fucking epic, dude. That's the epic way to end this type of horror movie. You know what I mean? And it's got to be the line. Like I said, it is the line of any summer movie, of most movies. The line of lines: "Smile, you son of a bitch." I thought it's fantastic. The crazy ending with that line. I think it's untouchable, man. It's a movie that takes place in the summer, with a ton of action, with a ton of crazy, with a ton of suspense, with a ton of tension, and with a great ending and opening. I think it's pretty untouchable. What do y'all think about it?
That's the first line I have written on my notes. "Smile, you son of a bitch," because it's such a classic line. The way he delivered it, the way it was filmed. I mean, incredible. So my immediate gripe. Bob, where were you in the summer of 1975 to witness Jaws?
Swimming in my dad's webby toes.
You weren't benching 250 listening to Dio. I know that. So anyway, as I was watching Oppenheimer this weekend, they had two previews that featured Jason Statham, you know, which are too many in my opinion. Anyway, two back-to-back releases of Jason Statham saying, "It's my job. I gotta go kill him." That was a bad. I'm gonna cut that one out. Anyway,
No, we gotta keep it in.
Anyway, one was The Expendables 4, which at this point, these guys just need to remake Cocoon. The second was a sequel to the Meg 2, The Trench, which, by the way, is PG-13. I get Jaws was PG, but PG in 1975 is like a soft 2023 rated R. As a matter of fact,
Yeah.
PETA would have been there protesting and canceling Brody, Quint, and Hooper in 2023. So anyway, I watched this preview of the Meg 2. I get it. It's not a shark. It's a megalodon. But it looks so campy, cheesy, and over the top. It's a movie. Jaws was not a movie. Jaws was a film, a damn good, intelligent, character-driven film. Nobody can replicate that. Steven Spielberg has this magic touch to turn these huge concepts into immersive, real experiences, and he has that wonderment when he does it. You know, this movie played on our primal fears. Nothing is more relaxing than being at the beach, right? People are playing in the water, they're tanning, the visceral exposure and the heightened awareness of who is around you, because everything is so wonderful to intake because you're so relaxed. So Spielberg takes this very disarming, safe family space and makes it into a terror dome of sorts. It was a rebirth and reimagining of what horror movies used to be. Let's fuck with people. Let's kill a kid. Let's kill a blonde girl. Let's kill a Labrador because a shark is not fucking around. So notice there was no Mexicans there. We never go above the waist, right? We never go above the waist. We got to stay with the beer. We don't let we have to wear our sleeveless Dallas Cowboys t-shirts in the water so we don't get dragged.
Who's gonna man the grill? If we're in the water, we gotta man the grill.
It's too dangerous. A Mexican will never get eaten by a shark. Anyway, so the mayor, what a dick. Oh, it was a boating accident. Oh, we caught a small tiger shark. The beach is safe. Bullshit. Okay, I absolutely love the way they fished this out. No pun. The characters of Brody, Hooper, and Quint. Brody, no nonsense, weight of the world on his shoulders. Quint, old school, tough as nails. He has that survivor's guilt that you talked about, Bob. He wanted to kill the shark for 10 grand. Take that into account into inflation. That's $57,000 in today's modern economy. Would you go up against this fucking monster for $57K? I don't think so, but this guy was nuts. Anyway,
They need a bigger boat, probably.
you had Hooper the geek. So these characters kind of sort of mirror us in a way. So that's probably why you like this movie. Anyway,
Who's who? That's
I guess.
They offer, obviously.
They
College
offered
boy.
they offered Brody to Robert Duvall, but he wanted Quint. Charlton Heston wanted in, but Spielberg felt he was too big to be the star. So Roy Scheider overheard Spielberg talking about the movie at a party, and he wanted in. Quint was originally offered to Lee Marvin and Sterling Hayden, but they both passed on the project. And for Hooper, Spielberg wanted John Voight or Kevin Kline and a host of others, but George Lucas suggested Richard Dreyfuss. And of course, he has that incredible whiny cadence to his speech, so he was perfect for that role. Let's talk about how the movie's legacy was tarnished by the sequels. Jaws 2, same movie. And after bugging Spielberg at a party, Roy Schneider did not want to do Jaws 2, but he was contractually obligated to do it. Jaws 3D, which I saw in the theaters and with those shitty 3D glasses, Dennis Quaid and Lou Gossett Jr., the shark was attacking SeaWorld. Jaws 4, The Revenge.
That was before PETA.
So in this movie, the shark, which now roared like a dinosaur or lion, and the plot was even though Brody was gone for 2 movies, now the shark knew enough to want to get revenge on him by terrorizing his family. I mean, this is like a home invasion movie. The best part was Michael Caine, who at that time was saying yes to every movie he was offered. He had the best line. He said, "You know what? I spent a week working in the Bahamas. I never saw the movie, but every day I saw the house that it built." So he was like, fuck it, just pay me, you know? At this rate, if they made Jaws 5, the shark would have COVID and just cough on people. I don't know. So I know all these movies released less than stellar sequels, you know, or but the Jaws franchise is such an abomination, and I can't support it. Rocky ending the Cold War was more realistic than a shark with feelings. Anyway, Jaws earned 476.5 million adjusted for inflation. That's around $2 billion, and Quint lost his life only wanting 10,000 of that. Tremendous movie. It's a classic. You got to put it on. And Bob, it is Shark Week, so you know it's a must watch during this time. Joseph, what are your thoughts?
Michael Caine. Come on, muffin.
There's a shark on the beach.
Here we go.
Where's
You come for our Bixby, you stay for our bad impressions, folks.
Of random people. One of the best movies made, in my opinion, whether, you know, considering for the time, really holds up. I know some people will call it a horror movie, but I can't. It's a very suspenseful thriller. I mean, you're on the seat of you're on the edge of your seat. Yeah, you're on the edge of your seat throughout this whole thing. What's crazy, and man, these 3 movies, our selections, incredible directors, all great performances by the cast, and including this one too, dude. Roy Scheider, Robert Shaw, and Richard Dreyfuss. Hell, these were great performances, and they might not have been in anything back then, but now you go back and you watch these films, they are awesome. They did the numbers like you, Randy mentioned right now. That's incredible too. For a $9 million supposed budget to make at the time 476.5 million. That's insane. That really is. It's intense. It's in your face. It came out before Bob and I were born. Randy, were you born?
I was not born. No.
Okay. It came out before all we were born. But man, I can only imagine what people were thinking when this movie came out, and after going and watching it. Yeah, like Bob
took the beach.
yeah. Bob says that to this day. I can only imagine back then the paranoia and the fear after watching that movie, and like how many beaches were actually full. Yes, like, okay, so you got to suspend, you know, your belief a little bit that this in no way is it like on par with the Meg, but you know, a massive shark. The only time you see this shark, like, is it, no, not the only time, but is the first actual appearance, is that when he pops up when I'm
on
trying
the boat,
to remember, right? Yeah, when we're
really when
Brody's
throwing chum.
Yeah.
He's complaining and he's throwing chum, and then you kind of see him come out of the water.
Yes,
you finally get a really good look at him, and you're
really
like,
good, like, it
that's
wasn't
when he
that
backs up and he's like, we're gonna need a bigger boat.
Yeah. Insane. Like, that was so, like, the build up to him finally, you know, part of like the you know, the jaws and the jaws, you know, coming out of the water. Like, that was cool. That's it. I mean, early beginnings of jump scares, if you want to call it that. Really, really awesome. My only beef, or not, it's not a beef. My only thing to say with this, Bob, is you picked this one. You said, and this isn't me complaining, I just don't agree with your take that, like, okay, well, it's summer movie, so beach movie, you know, like vacation. Like, I didn't, like, these are 3 completely different films. A summer beach, you know, thriller of a shark, a space sci-fi type, you know, bounty hunter, and then like, you know, kind of a crime drama like you all had described it, even though it's a comic book movie. Three different. I don't feel like you need that. You said that my selection didn't feel like a summer movie. I don't see that. I just think like the release time and it's just like how we talked about it in the beginning, to get out of the maybe being bored, you know, because it's summer and you're at home you're at home, you're not doing anything. This, like these three films, getting, regardless of what they're about, getting you out of the house and into the theater. I think that's what these films are all share that, and I don't think either of them take away from each other. So I just kind of just don't agree with that aspect, Bob.
Okay, but we can all agree. We can all agree that everybody looks way fucking older in Jaws than they actually are. Like they're like Chief Brody and his wife are probably like my age, Joseph, our age, Joseph, and they look way fucking older than me. And they have like a 3-year-old kid. You're like, he looks like he's like 50. Why would you have a 4-year-old there at the beach just running around and shit? You should be 50 years old with a 4.
But like,
that's Al Pacino, right?
But like I said, you know, you want to talk about making an impact on your audience at a certain time in the calendar year. This one really does that, and that's probably why it's one of the best. That might be why people will say it's the best. What's probably why Bob thinks it's the best. I mean, like he said, who wanted to go into the fucking beach? Who wanted to go into the water after seeing this movie? It came out around that time while people were doing things just like that. So yeah, having a real effect on your audience right after the movie, right at, you know, during the time that it kind of takes place, that was a great effect. Whether they intended that or not, it was great.
I mean, and the first one is a rewatchable classic. It's one of the best movies. You go from Roy Scheider, who was an excellent,
Michael Caine.
And then you go from I think it has fins. You know, from Michael Caine.
Why do we all get accents like the Terminators? Like we had the shitty actors after the fact too. The guy from Avatar came out in like the sequels too, and then obviously the shitty, what's his name, Kane, and what's his name from The Dark Knight Rises? What's his name? Fucking
Christian Bale.
Tom Hardy.
Oh, Tom Hardy.
Tom Hardy. Yeah, he had.
Tom Hardy has been.
You know, I will say this, and this I joked about it in the beginning, Bob, and I know with T2, I remember experiencing it, and Joseph, obviously, you remember experiencing The Dark Knight Rises. There were a lot of great summer movies like Star Wars and Indiana Jones that we didn't mention, and the reason I didn't have those on my honorable mentions, sure, they're some of the biggest movies ever, but I didn't recall watching those in the theaters, and you didn't watch Jaws in the theater. None of us did. None of us were born. But how do you legitimize that by somebody saying, well, you didn't experience it, but it's your pick nonetheless?
I experienced it when I fucking watched it at home on my screen, and I watch it. Not only do I see it as a horror movie that I watched during October in that time period. Every summer I watch Jaws, not just like this week we did it for Shark Week, but you know what I mean? It's legitimately one of my favorite movies to watch in the summer because it's got a summer feel to it. It kicks off my summer vacations a lot of the time. So this is a movie, like I said, I've experienced it. I've watched it probably like 50, 60 times, dude. So you don't need to have that, oh, you didn't see it live, so you had to be there. Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, okay. to help Bob, if anybody's asking that question. Look,
tell those old bastards to go.
No. There's a lot of movies we didn't see, but look, you gotta. When did they come out? Did they come out in the summer? Yes, they did. Can you relate to those people watching this movie? Can you relate to the people that did see it at the time? You know, when it was released. Yes, you can. Like, I mean, personally, I know how I felt when I watched The Dark Knight. If you go back and research that movie and read up all the build up to it, to the anticipation, like I mentioned, the release of images, release of the trailer, the unfortunate death of Heath Ledger, and then watch the movie, you might understand and you might feel like how I felt, like how this. I know when we watch Jaws, and I know when Bob watches Jaws to this day, he still feels like probably how those fucking people felt back then when they watched it when it came out. So I don't think that doesn't weigh. I don't think that has that has any weight, you know, as far as this. Yeah.
It looks like it's got a lot of teeth. That's enough. That was it. No, I thought that was as good as it got. Anyway,
it was a British accent. It just wasn't Michael Caine.
Anyway, guys, final thoughts on summer movies.
I can't even remember what came out last summer. These two out right now have created a lot of buzz. So I think it's going to be sporadic, you know, here and there. What's going to come out next year? I don't know. We're already, you know, getting towards the tail end of the summer. And other than these two, do you remember anything else that kind of came out that
Ninja Turtles comes out in a few weeks. That's what I'm going to see.
I mean, last year it was Top Gun Maverick, right? That was the movie that was.
Was that the summer release last year?
Yeah, I think that was the movie, and
They're
everybody.
like, we can't come up with any original ideas. I know. Let's bring
And that's
old-ass
because
Tom Cruise to play in the sand and volleyball.
And that's because he waited like an extra 2 years to release that movie.
Yeah,
because he was like, oh, I can't go see it in the theater. I don't want it to be streaming.
Yeah, exactly. And everybody was giving him all these.
He's like, I was making movies in the '80s. I know what people felt like that.
I was there to see the shark. I was alive in 1975. Anyway, so I know that a lot of people were giving him praise and accolades that, he brought people back into theaters, but you didn't see a lot of, I mean, because he released a movie this summer, Mission Impossible. It didn't do as well as they thought he would. And I think that's like, hey, you know what? Did we go watch Top Gun because of the nostalgia and because we had anticipated more so than we wanted to watch Tom Cruise? I think that's the truth. I don't think it was Tom Cruise that brought us back to the movie.
It was definitely Tom Cruise. I think it has to do with that. It was, Maverick was a sequel. If this was Mission Impossible 2, I think more people would have got to see it. This is Mission Impossible like 6 or 7. You're like, yeah, bro, okay, we get it. It's not that impossible if you keep fucking finishing it, okay? You keep solving the crime. All right, bro. So I think that's why. Like, if it was Mission Impossible 2 that they had made, in 20 years, you might have gotten more people in the damn theater. But since it's part 6 or part 7, like Fast and the fucking Furious, like, okay, we get you drive the car fast and you family. That bullshit. Nobody cares. Okay, fucking ridiculous.
I will, to add to that too. I remember reading something that prior to the releases, he was trying to either push back the release or he was fighting because he wanted to have Mission Impossible come out in these IMAX theaters that Oppenheimer is coming out in.
Yeah.
And Oppenheimer studio or whatever had already reserved. Like, no, this is like, we got this. And supposedly he was a little pissed off about it because he was like, no, this movie needs to be experienced in IMAX. And like Oppenheimer wasn't going to budge, like the studio. So they were like, no. I think it's like what Bob said too. Like, yeah, if this was Mission Impossible 2 after 10 years or however many years, the time gap between Top Gun and Top Gun Maverick, but like what Bob said, I mean, it's fucking Mission Impossible 13 now, whatever it is.
He was like, they got one explosion. I'm jumping off planes every 2 minutes. I'm jumping off buildings.
He jumped off a fucking cliff with a motorcycle and he did it like 7 different times he did it with a fucking parachute. That guy's a nut job.
And all the praise to him, like he does, like you want to do those, you want to do your own stunts. That's cool, man. That's cool.
He's got
his two most recent movies are sequels, like.
Because everything else sucks. When he did Day and Night and when he did all these other movies, they all bombed. So he's just making these sequels to keep up the cachet of him being Tom Cruise and being the most important action. The most important actor that we have right now. Because he said he was going to make Mission Impossible movies till he's like, Harrison Ford's age, and he's not too far from that.
I believe he has another one that's supposed to come out after this one. It's in theaters right now.
So I don't see Tom Cruise making a movie other than a sequel that is going to have audiences flock to the theater. I just don't.
Outsiders 2. Outsider.
Too hot to be outside.
More outside. Let's talk about the toadies.
Let's talk about the toadies. Okay, so who posted that poll, and tell us a little bit about it.
Joseph posted the poll. Yeah, we were talking about it again, and like we do on Saturday nights. We're gonna make it a weekly thing. This is
gonna be a new thing. It's a Creative Little Pill's contribution to the show. She argues with Bob about a song, and then we have a poll.
The week before, last week was Iris and Black Balloon by the Goo Goo Dolls, and this week we're watching music videos like we do, and what is it? What's the name of the band?
Toadies.
The Toadies. Possum Kingdom came on, and we saw the music video. We're obviously like, okay, so what's the fucking song about? So we thought we'd just throw the poll out there. Joseph magically took him like 20 minutes to put the poll out there, but
I wanted to make it perfect.
It was a good poll.
So what's the poll about?
It's what exactly is Possum Kingdom about, the song Possum Kingdom, and what we were discussing as far as choices is it's point of view of a vampire or point of view of a serial killer.
It's neither. It can't be a vampire because he shouts, "So help me, Jesus." Vampires don't believe in Jesus. So
neither did Judas, but he still prayed afterwards.
So it can't be a vampire. It's not. I think it's about a cult member. I think, from what I've read in previous articles. It's about a cult member sacrificing people.
I did.
Do cult members believe in Jesus?
Well, apparently.
I did go back and try to.
Some think they are Jesus.
I did go back and try to like get some context, and from what I read, the singer wrote it. You know, he wrote it about different stories. He didn't give a very vague, because I didn't want somebody to say like, oh, it's obviously he wrote it was about this. He didn't really give an idea as to what it was, but the poll's over, and clearly everybody agrees it was serial killer with 67% of the votes. Yes. Serial killer wins over vampire, 67 to 33. We will share those results.
I'm 2-0. I'm 2-0. That's all I'm saying. 2-0. 2 weeks.
Awesome Kingdom. So we're wrapping it up, and that's our show, everyone. Listeners, we'd love to hear from you. Hit us up and let us know what your favorite summer movie blockbuster is. Most importantly, let us know what you think about the show. You may reach us at formidableopponents@gmail.com and follow us on all forms of social media by searching for Formidable Opponents. We want to thank Creative Little Pill for her great artwork. Please follow her on Instagram at Creative Little Pill. Please rate and review us on Apple and Spotify and on all other platforms. Join us next episode. We'll be back in 2 weeks. We're going to take a break next week, and we'll be joined by some familiar guests as we talk about best 90s music videos. So for Bob and Joseph, this is Randall. We'll see you all next week.
Smile, you son of a bitch.
Imagine if they did another remake and Schwarzenegger was in Jaws. He'd be like, I'm going to fight the Jaws.
Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.
Hasta la vista, baby.